Good evening, Fiji. Welcome to For the Record. Now, you can say that a long list of men and women can be attributed to the development of our national airline. And of course, we've seen many changes over the course of these years and improvements in the developments in our airline industry across the region. But you can also say our flagship airline carrier, Fiji Airways, has been the front runner, especially here in the Pacific. And we're grateful to have, well, the new CEO of Fiji Airways, Mr. Stefan Pichler. Guten Abend.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome on For the Record. And again, now, you are not a foreigner to Fiji. How many years so far have you been involved with coming to Fiji and being involved in the airline industry?
Well, in the airline industry, I've been involved about 30 years. Fiji first came on my radar screen when I was working in Australia for Virgin, because I opened up the Fiji Nandi as a destination for Virgin at that time. Fiji again came onto my radar screen a little bit more important from a private life, because I spent my honeymoon with my wife in Yasawa. And as I'm a keen diver, of course, I went to some places for whatever shark feeding and other stuff. I just love the place. I love Fiji.
So I hear that really the main reason why you came here was for the diving, and the job was just a perk.
No, you can't say that, because you look to balance both of it. Yeah? You look for a business challenge and you look for a nice lifestyle. So if you can achieve both of it, that's great, because that's a key to happiness. So for me, the airline was interesting because I saw a lot of room for improvement, to stabilize and grow and somehow develop the airline to a new level. And on the other hand, it was a great lifestyle here, close to our home, to Australia. So it was an easy decision to make to come to Fiji, which is now about 8 months ago.
Now, even as the CEO of Jazeera Airways previously, and you saw, it's been reported that you made a huge turn in profits for Jazeera Airways, and you still made that decision to come to Fiji Airways.
Well, I always try to run profitable businesses. Airline is just a business as any other business. So in my past life, I think out of 28 years, I had 2 years non-profit, and the rest we somehow managed in different for different companies to somehow make some money and get some return for the shareholders, and get also some return for the staff.
Well, speaking of returns, Fiji Airways recently announced that a profit after tax, 14.5 million. Now, this was just achieved over a 9-month period through to December 2013. Now, can you just tell us a little bit about the profit that has been made by Fiji Airways?
Well, this 14.3 million, you cannot really compare to a full fiscal year, as you just pointed out. On the other hand, to be fair, the first quarter, which is missing, because this fiscal year went from the 1st of April until the 31st of December, is always the weakest one. So you compare apples with peas, it's not really good. But in this year as well, we had some substantial transition costs to cover, because we changed from the 747 long-haul aircraft to the new A330 aircraft. So the transition alone from this sort of aircraft to the new sort of aircraft somehow ate about 13.2 million Fijian dollars alone. And then, of course, getting into new aircraft, you have to finance them. So the finance costs have also been increased. But now, on the road ahead, I think we can substantially increase profitability.
Now, how are you finding, personally, the challenge of Fiji Airways at this time? How are you finding it?
I don't think it's a challenge. I think it's a huge opportunity, because we can now work on a lot of in a lot of areas to just improve the sustainability, the profitability, the efficiency of this airline, which has a colorful past. And I think the key areas, of course, are developing business plans and strategies which help us to develop and grow the business, and growing the business not only in terms of number of aircraft or number of destinations, but also number of people. And then we have a lot of other challenges to create the brand, to adapt management processes so we get to achieve strategic objectives, to be more customer-centric, listen and talk to customers, and of course, as Fiji Airways, to promote Fijians to management jobs and provide job opportunities to Fijians.
All right. Well, speaking of which, you've also announced a 5-year plan, and some of the the decisions that you've made with management, you deal with your staff. You've been listening to some of their comments and taking it on. Now, how is that faring without involving your senior managers?
Well, you have to do that. I think listening and talking to customers is not only to the people who are flying on board of our aircraft or to the public. Staff is my customers. Every staff member is my customer, and we are all sitting in the same boat. We're trying to row that boat and get to our destination. So for me, it is very important to listen to my staff members and get their ideas, get their complaints, get their critiques, and also share with them where we want to go. If you share a common goal, if you share a common vision, it's more easy for everybody to get there. And leading people is different to managing people. Managing is more in terms of managing complexity in business environments, but leading people is trying to make as many people as you can, the majority of your staff, believe and that we can get there, and the belief will help us. Let's say, for example, last night we had a problem with our IT, with our Microsoft Exchange, and 3 of our IT team worked from 6 o'clock in the evening till 10 o'clock in the morning today to get it fixed. And they must have this extra motivation, they must have the drive to get there. And that's what makes the difference. The difference in management and the difference in managing companies is not having smart 40-pages PowerPoint presentations, which is strategies, but how much of a strategy can you put on the ground? So how much of the horsepower you have in a car gets on the road? And this difference is made by the people.
Do you feel that you need to do that more here than in your previous capacity as in previous airlines?
No.
No?
It's always the same.
Always the same.
You can manage or you can lead, and it's better to involve people to achieve objectives. And we have done that. I've done that in my previous life as well. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. I recall the time I was chairman CEO of Thomas Cook, which was a €9 billion company, so with 35,000 people. So you can't get into the dialogue with 35,000. So you have to somehow cut it off. But to empower people to listen to staff and to share the ideas with your staff, it always helps.
Right. On that note, we'll take a short break right here on For the Record. Welcome back to For the Record. We're speaking with the Chief Executive Officer of the Fiji Airways, Mr. Stefan Pichler. Now, just before the break, we talked a little bit about the direction of your management of Fiji Airways. Now, let's have a look at our neighbors, our regional airline industry. Now, what is the direction of Fiji Airways in terms of our other regional airlines? How are we in competition?
Well, what we try to do first, we run our business. So how do we run our business? We want to become the leading airline here in the South Pacific, a leading global boutique airline, which means our USP has to be customer service. We want to have a very personalized customer service. That's where we want to make the difference. Now, in doing that, you of course try to cooperate wherever it suits. So we have interline agreements and in some areas codeshare agreements with major regional partners, like for example Qantas, and also international partners. Now the latest one was Etihad Airways, and they all help us to feed passengers onto our flights and to Fiji for holidays and other purposes like business, etc. So wherever we see an added value to cooperate with a partner, we do it. We also have interline agreement with Virgin Australia and with Cathay, so they all help us and we all help each other. So basically it is more cooperation than competition, because what we try to do, we try to grow the revenue pie because we sell each other on the respective networks in the respective markets. So competition somehow happens if there's overcapacity in the market. Yeah, if people dump capacity seats into the market, which is not the case wherever we operate. So we are in somehow a pretty rational environment, and that's good because this helps us making money.
Okay. When you say we're pretty rational in the environment, could you just explain for our viewers what does that mean? Like what does it mean in practice for Fiji Airways?
Well, for example, what we don't want to happen is let some big guys like Emirates or Etihad, whatever, come in and they all fly to Australia and then they don't fly on to Auckland, but they fly to Fiji. So suddenly you have a couple of thousand seats coming there every week, boom. And of course, if there's more seats to offer, then the prices drop and nobody can make money. But we have to be self-sustainable. We can't wait for the government to pump money in ourselves, so we can't afford this. In some other cases, like these government-owned airlines in the Middle East, their business model is very different. They don't necessarily need to make money, so it is not the same level playing field. So that's what we try to avoid.
Now, recently, the announcement of a new agreement with Etihad Airways.
Yeah.
Now, could you just explain a little bit of what does this involve?
Look, this involves a cooperation to 71 destinations in the Etihad network in Europe, in the Middle East, in Africa, in Asia. So now we have fares or products available, let's say from Amsterdam or Paris, etc., where people can fly with Etihad and then on to with Fiji Airways to visit Nandi, which means that we'll have more people from these markets coming and visiting Fiji, which means also that for Fiji as an economy, for Fiji as a tourism incoming market, Fiji will become less dependent on the key big source markets like Australia, New Zealand, US, because we open up other markets. So suddenly the Etihad sales manager in Amsterdam sells Fiji Airways. Beautiful.
All right. So I guess that's less destinations to travel to get to a single point. Say, for instance, I want to get to New Delhi in India. Before I used to have to travel through a couple of other countries. So does that mean less countries to travel to get to my destination?
That means you have one fare you can buy, which is a competitive fare to go there, and you have more options. You can go, let's say, from Nandi via Hong Kong and then with Cathay Pacific onto. You can go with Etihad, you can go with Qantas. So you have different options, which is more flexibility for you as a traveler.
Yes. Okay. Well, very good. Now, let's get back to the A330. Now, recently an incident in Australia that involved a heavy landing of one of the A330s. How are we faring with, could you just tell us the situation with our A330? How much damage?
The incident you're referring to was a hard landing in Sydney on the 18th of March. We then had to put this aircraft into maintenance engineering. The aircraft is back in our fleet and is flying again. So that's all beautiful. But of course, we as an airline, we have to launch an internal investigation to look at the root cause, at what did cause that hard landing. And of course, you have a multitude of different factors. There can be human error, which most people think it is, because you focus on pilot, whatever. There can be organizational issues, there can be training issues, there can be all kinds of issues. And once you analyze that, you get a full picture, and then you develop management actions because you don't want this to repeat itself. So I've received the report, the internal investigation report, the final one, on Wednesday this week, and now we are in the process of deriving management actions in order to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
For the benefit of our traveling viewers, how well, in your perspective, how well trained are our pilots for Fiji Airways?
Well, all our pilots are trained the same way as any other pilot globally, because they all have to live up to international standards. They have international training modules, which everybody has to has to admit to and pass the tests, and they're monitored consistently. So regardless what nationality you have as a pilot, you have to have the same level of education, of experience, and you assess the same way.
Specifically to the A330, are our pilots are well trained for this too?
Yeah, if we wouldn't have well-trained pilots to fly, then we wouldn't fly. You can't afford, because we have one thing which is key in our industry. We cannot compromise on safety and security, otherwise we would be out of business.
Well, Fiji Airways also signed a new, well, we've mentioned with the Etihad, and also there is something with the cargo. The cargo agreements. Could you just explain a little bit about what does this mean?
Well, look, I just explained with Etihad, so it gives us access to new source markets in Europe, in Asia and Middle East. And now with cargo, it's a little bit of a different situation, because we have limited cargo capacity. We are not in a position where we just buy an aircraft for cargo purposes only. Yeah? Therefore, we are too small to operate one cargo aircraft. But we have to make sure that our exporters, our freight forwarders, have capacity for exporting, in some cases importing, Singapore, etc., Kuala Lumpur, goods. So that's why we have signed cargo interline agreements, which enables us, the same way passenger business goes, to have products available from Nandi via Australia to 50, 60 spots in the world for cargo exports, and also for some cargo imports.
Well, on that note, well, that's very good for our export business. And on that note, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back here on For the Record.
Thank you.
Welcome back to For the Records. We're still with the Chief Executive Officer of Fiji Airways, Mr. Stefan Pichler. Now, we've talked about export and the repercussions of Fiji Airways developing business, airline agreements in terms of cargo. Let's now have a look at, well, our national carrier, as we see it, or as you see it. How do we fare in the global aviation market? Now, how are we faring as the different changes that we've gone through? And what does it look for us?
Well, there is a saying which says, if you want to become a millionaire, then you have to invest into airline business, but be a billionaire before. So, which means a lot of airlines lose money. Look around us regionally. Qantas, Virgin Australia, etc., etc. Not a lot of airlines make money. We make money. We are sustainable, profitable, without any government aid. So in terms of performance, we do better than most of our regional peers. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we try now with these interline agreements, which will evolve, we will get new ones as well in the next 2-3 years. We try to punch above our weight. We choose the right partners, and this will help us grow our profitability. We also want to have a competition between our partners. So which means now we have signed this interline deal with Etihad, which makes others like Emirates or Qatar Airways look and say, oh, well, we would like to add Fiji on our map, or South Pacific on our map. Let's talk to them. So what we try to do is as a tail waving with a dog. So we try really to enhance the competition for people looking at us and wanting to cooperate with us, which helps us putting Fiji on the global map.
Okay. What about are we looking at new destinations too? What does it involve before we have a new destination? How do you get to the process of this?
Yes, of course we look at new destinations. We look, we have a growth plan, which is our 5 years master plan, and in this growth plan we add an aircraft every year. We grow in several countries. Asia, we probably double our capacity. Australia, we grow by 28%, etc., etc. And if you grow, then you have different options. First, you can enhance frequencies, fly more often, or second, you can add new destinations. We will add new destinations. We will add new destinations in Asia. Once we got the next A330, we will add new destinations in Australia, New Zealand, once we got additional 737s, and we will add new destinations with our enhanced Pacific Sun, soon to be Fiji Link airline, where we get the new ATR 72. You will see a lot of news and positive surprises. And how do you get there? Well, it's hard work. You do the numbers again, and once you have a good feeling about them, then go for it.
Now, you say we add a new aircraft each year.
Yes.
Are we looking at another new aircraft for next year?
Well, in 4 weeks we'll have the next new aircraft coming, which is an ATR 72, which will be part of our fleet at Pacific Sun. So that's beautiful. In the next year we are going to have, probably in Q2, another 737, and then we are currently already negotiating with the A330 to come in 2016, and hopefully, if everything goes okay and we do good business, we'll add another 737 in 2016. So step by step by step, also always reviewing our current performance, we grow. And the good news is now that a lot of banks and financial institutions believe our growth story, believe our success. They prefer to invest in profitable businesses. So we have no problem in financing these new aircraft.
Okay. Now, that fares well. You also mentioned that you grow, meaning you're also growing in getting more staff for Fiji Airways.
Yes.
And now, you also say that you'd be delivering and operating profits in excess, say, 100 million in your... Now, how does your business plan with this 5-year master plan for Fiji Airways that you've just mentioned? Now, what do you see for Fiji beyond the 5 years for Fiji Airways?
Well, look, this is a very... 5 years is a long time in airline business, and we have to micromanage to get there. So once we got there in 2017, we have it, then we have to look at other opportunities to grow the business. But first, let's do the following. Let's do step by step by step, climb this stairway step by step. So each year is another step. Let's deliver profits. Let's pay dividends to shareholders. Let's continue with profit share program for our staff. And then we'll get there, and then the future will tell. But what we have to do, and that's very important, we cannot run a business on a year-by-year basis. We have to have a long-term vision that we create added value for the Fijian economy, added value for Fiji tourism for generations. And that's the important part.
Now, the profit sharing with your staff, has that also already started?
Well, yes, for the last year, it was about 9 months, we gave profit share to our staff. So everybody at Fiji Airways benefited, and that's beautiful. I was a little bit caught between a rock and a hard place, because usually you would like to launch dividends to shareholders and profit share to the staff at the same time. What we've done this year, we have already given a profit share to our staff, but we haven't yet paid dividends to our shareholders. But that has to come next year.
And that will come next year?
Of course.
Now, how do you feel, just before we wrap up, how do you feel about Fiji Airways growing? You've mentioned the plans. Personally, for you, do you think you can get there with your ideas and what you see for Fiji Airways?
I think we as a team get there. We should not think that one person makes the difference. Teams make the difference. The wisdom of teams is always superior to the wisdom of an individual. So we all together get there, or nobody gets there.
Right. Well, speaking of which, you're getting there. Suva Sydney. Now, that was just launched on Friday morning. Now, how do you see this service?
Oh, it's beautiful. Now, with Suva Sydney, which we launched this week, and we fly twice weekly with the 737, we have a very different demand compared to Nandi Sydney. Because Nandi Sydney is basically leisure, VFR, traffic, visit friends and relatives. And now from Suva, which is a business and political capital, we have more business travel, we have more government travel, we have more NGO travel. So the mix of passengers is much, much different. And also what we try to do is, beside Nandi as the leisure hub of Fiji Airways, we try to develop Suva into the business hub of Fiji Airways, which means we try to operate more and open up more and more destinations out from Suva, but it will be not only classical leisure destinations, but also business destinations. So we also try, beside Nandi, to grow on Suva.
Exciting times for Fiji Airways.
Thank you. Yes, you're right.
Dankeschön, Herr Stefan Pichler. And that wraps up our show here on For the Record. For comments, you can send them to fortherecord@fbc.com.fj. And we'll see you again next week, right here on FBC TV.